There's a strange financial situation going on with our broccoli hair, looks-maxing, gig economy working Zoomer brethren. They're graduating with half as much student loan debt as millennials did, and 20% fewer are even going. They're becoming business owners at 7 times the rate that Gen X and Boomers did. And as of 2026, 24-year-olds have a higher home ownership rate than Gen X and millennials.
More 24-year-old Gen Zers owned homes in 2023 than prior generations? How is that possible?
Millennials did at the...
I feel like this would be inheritance, no? Yeah, it might be sensationalism. I guess let's watch and see. Let's see what the sources are and stuff. Because, I mean, these are just headlines, so I don't know where the article is coming from, but... we'll see.
Same,
Robbie, same.
This unk is jealous and also a little underemployed. So I went digging and I found 3 reasons that show why Gen Z might be doing a lot better than we think they are. When millennials and Gen Xers were growing up, they were sold a dream. Work hard, go to college, get a secure job, buy a house, only for a millennial YouTuber to film outside of it while you're at work without a permit. The joke is that this is not my house. But boy, have the money rules changed for Gen Z. 15% of millennials.
This is America? There's a roundabout? And they know how to use it? 15% owned investments before age 21? Okay, but how is that? Okay, all right. 15% owned investments before age 21, but they gotta have... Investing in the stock market is like an exponential way to grow your money, right? So the smaller the amount, the smaller the exponent that it's gonna grow by. So I wonder, even if this is like true, bro, you still need a ton of money to like really garner a ton more money.
Had investments before age 21? Sounds reasonable until I tell you that over 30% of Gen Z have investments before then. They have long positions.
Yeah, but how? Okay, but all right, we'll just keep watching.
Before they're legally allowed to drink a Long Island iced tea. Now, clearly Gen Z isn't learning about investing through high school. They're getting their info from TikToks.
Good morning, guys. I just bought some 650 calls on Tesla to start the morning. We're currently down about 5.8% on the position. I'm honestly not really worried.
What's up, traders? It's Jay back with another video for you guys. Today I want to talk about...
Bro, a lot of these videos, you know, they feel like, who's that guy? When we were growing up as kids, like, he would be in his garage, like, with his phone like this, and, no, not Bill Nye. He used to be like, I got this car, I got this house because of knowledge, and it'd be like a large bookcase behind him and stuff. I think his name is like Tony. I don't remember his name, dude, but that's what it feels like. Cribs? No, that doesn't sound right either. I forget his name, man.
Trading as a high school student.
I'm in school right now. I'm in high school. I'm in my school bathroom. I just made 15.
Okay, to be fair though, I think one thing that did help Gen Z probably a good bit is like the Wall Street Bets thing, how they were pumping AMC and GameStop and all that. I can't imagine there were a few kids basically that made some decent money off of that pump.
$15,000 off of AMC and GameStop.
Now, you could watch all those clips and think, damn, those kids are really obsessed with...
But still, I mean, 15K is still not enough to buy a house. They'd have to keep racking up the wins in the market for that.
Money. But I don't think it's an obsession with money. I think it's a loss of faith in money. Inflation is up 26% in just the last 5 years. College tuition is up 84% in the last 10. The U.S. government is adding $1 trillion of debt every
84% college tuition is up? That is wild, dude.
38 days. CBO predicts that Social Security will run out in the next 15 years. Gen Z is just reading the room. Some of you are full porting your lunch money betting that Jesus will return before GTA 6, but some of you, most of you...
That is so crazy, bro, that you can bet if Jesus is coming back this year.
Are just buying the S&P 500 before your first chest hair sprouts. As weird as it all sounds, 300 years of history actually tell us that this moment was actually quite predictable. There's a theory called the fourth turning by William Strauss and Neil Howe, essentially observing that history moves in 80 to 100 year cycles, with each part made up of a thing called a turning. The first turning is filled with prosperity, high off of a crisis. The second turning is an awakening fueled by cultural rebellion. The third turning is an unraveling of some of those institutions where inequality grows and trust fades. And the fourth turning is usually marked by a crisis or several crises that ultimately leads to a reset. The previous fourth turning was in the 1930s. We're talking unemployment at 25%, then half the country gets drafted to fight World War II. Then you come home, probably missing a limb, and your senator suspects that your mailman might be a Soviet spy. And yet, they didn't bitch about it. In fact, that might be the reason why they're called the silent generation. Instead, they locked in, screwed like rabbits, created the baby boomer generation, and also the most powerful wealth vehicle of the 20th century, real estate. By the 1980s, the silent generation held over 67% of all U.S. real estate wealth.
I'm pretty sure it might still be true today, but I'm pretty sure most millionaires in America are made from like investing in real estate and stuff. Dude, this is a nice area, and then look at the roads. The roads are terrible, dude.
Gen Z is showing the same signs of that early head start, minus the getting laid part, all shaped by an unusually fast-changing world that is forcing them to adapt.
I think the getting laid part, though, that's a whole separate issue. I think there's a whole separate cultural issue that's going on there.
Some are gonna hustle, some are gonna scam, some are even gonna beg.
Are you familiar with the rapper Lil Uzi Vert? No. I think it's a huge problem that the youth of America have to bombard their favorite rapper or pop musician and ask them to pay back their student loans. They're not even asking for selfies anymore. Are you a fan of Taylor Swift?
Are you
a Swiftie? Because
dude, that is a crazy statement to make in Congress or in Senate, whatever this is.
Even her fans have gone up to her and said, will you please pay back my student loans?
That's wild. I do remember seeing this clip of Lil Uzi Vert. He's like in a mall, and some guy asks him, hey, will you pay for my college tuition? And then Lil Uzi Vert said, show me your report card, and if you get like all A's, yeah, I'll pay for it, and as long as you graduate, blah, 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 or something like that.
Desperate student borrowers are.
But for every Zoomer pleading Taylor Swift for university money, there's a second that just stopped going altogether. And that's the second major shift. 4 million fewer students are enrolled in a
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this number is also mostly men, because it's mostly young men that are not going to college, while females are going to college more.
Additional four-year universities than there were in 2011. Gen Z graduates have a lower average student loan balance among all generations over the last 40 years. Nearly half as much as millennials at the same.
And I do think part of that is a lot of the Gen Z kids, you know, they've seen what happened to like the millennials and stuff. They get told, hey, you know, go to school, get a good job, buy a house, blah, blah, blah. And it's not really working out for them. So I think they've seen that happen in real time. And they're like, okay, never mind. That word of advice is not working anymore. It's time to try something different.
Age. And in my eyes, there's one major reason for.
And I also think there's a big issue with going to college and then not being able to find a job right after as well. Secondary education. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like you go to college, right? And then for like a beginner position, they're like, well, you need like 4 years of experience. And it's like, brother, I'm looking for an entry-level position. You are the experience.
All this entrepreneurship.
My boyfriend and I quit our jobs to build a.
So and then that leads to obviously entrepreneurship, like he's saying, right? So I think that's part of another reason why so many Gen Zers are opening up businesses, because well, all these things need experience, and then you can't find a job because everything needs experience for an entry-level position. So you might as well just gain the experience, doing it on your own and failing a bunch of times until something clicks, you know? Get a master's, be 30, can't find jack, too qualified to work as a janitor. Yeah. And I think, and there's also, That's true. Well, that is true, Emp. However, I do think there is you could also do something like copywriting, you know, like an online business. You could also do something like that too. There's also things where you don't necessarily need to provide a physical product or something like that, and it could be like a digital service, you know, like if you have some kind of skill, like if you're good at making videos or really good at making thumbnails, etc. Now I do wonder how much of a decline that's gonna have that industry will have because of AI, but I mean the point still stands. You don't necessarily have to have a physical thing to start making money, you know? As long as you have a skill and you can market it in a way online where you can get clients, you would have a business going, you know? And going back to your point, Canadian, about being at 30 and being too qualified to be a janitor, I think there's also a lot of jobs out there that are not hiring people even though they have qualifications, because the job will feel like they're too overqualified, and then they don't want to pay them for what they're worth, you know? So I think there is that problem as well.
Game is perfect for long-distance friends and couples, and it's finally coming out this year in 2026.
25, I launched a fashion
looks like a
brand.
little
No
cozy game.
experience, no contacts, and honestly, no money.
12 days ago, I bought a liquor store in Alberta at 23 years old, and I don't even drink.
36% of Gen Z considers
How
themselves
do you buy a... Okay, see, and then those are like outliers, bro. Like the kids or the young guys, because he's not a kid, he's 23. The young guys that are getting this money to buy liquor stores or whatever. Like that does take capital in that situation. Yeah, and then you also need the license and all that. You could start a course, and by the time you're done, all you learn is already outdated and completely useless. Yeah. And it's like, and then you could also go to school for like coding or something, right? And like imagine you went to school for coding now, dude. You're going in at like a really bad time because everything wants to move to AI, even though AI code isn't like the best yet, you know? It's just, yeah, it's just a terrible situation. This also kind of happened with the Japanese in the 80s. They had a market crash. So there's like this whole generation that, you know, studied hard, went to college, and then they couldn't get job opportunities. And now they're just neats. They just kind of live in home. They don't go out. They don't socialize, blah, blah, blah. Because the way that like the Japanese culture works is like, if you don't get a job basically straight out of school, you're kind of screwed, which really sucks. I hear the military's hiring right now. Dude, okay, look. I would say join the military, but make sure you pick a job that's going to give you some kind of something, right, that you can utilize to get out, right? So that maybe it's like admin or IT or cybersecurity or something like that, right? Like a really important job, and make sure that you utilize everything that you can in the military, because the military is going to utilize your physical body to the most it can. SEAL Team 6 Black Ops Division. That'd be crazy. Their population is in free fall. Yeah, that too. Japanese. Yeah. Well, okay. And that. Oh my goodness, bro. My thoughts are going, so I can't even speak. And I think the part of that is, right, if the population is in free fall, it's because men don't want to have kids because they can't find a good job to support a family. When men get paid well enough to support a family and whatnot, they are more open to having children. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, if a female gets paid well, they don't want to have children. They want to continue with their career and advance. This is real studies done, by the way.
entrepreneurial. Compare that to baby boomers or Gen Xers, and it's way higher. According to Intuit, 13% of Gen Z makes an income through a social media account. But what's even more astonishing is that 47% of those respondents say that they made more through social media than their
But it's kind of crazy how all of this is kind of connected, right? It's a whole cultural shift. It's a whole shift and shifting of beliefs, ideologies, etc.
Time job. At this pace,
I gotta run it
made
back.
more through social media than their full-time job.
That's wild.
At this pace, over half of Gen Z is going to have a job title that didn't even exist 20 years ago. Which begs the question, why should they be taking career advice from any prior generation? Learn to...
And I will agree with him here, because this is a whole different world than what a lot of millennials and Gen X and even boomers had, right? There's so many different ways to make money online now, and so many different avenues for you to make money in a whole different way than there was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, etc.
Code. Oh wait, 90% of coders just got automated. Okay, learn a trade. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC. Oh wait, they got dancing robots in China just 5 years away.
I will say, okay, my thing about the trades, I think the trades is going to be really good still. I think we have a good few years, maybe 10 years, 12 years, maybe upwards to 20 years before the trades really start getting hammered by AI robots. And the reason why I say that, it could be a lot faster just because of how technology advances. But the reason why I say that is because there's already some robots and stuff that do like pretty easy tasks like cleaning bathrooms and stuff, but it's not perfect, and I definitely still think there's going to be the need for human supervision over these robots yet until it is perfected.
Away from one with a hard hat and 10 working fingers. The career advice shelf life keeps shrinking. So why
a robot
not
took
take
my
a
girlfriend's
risk on
job. Wait,
yourself and
seriously?
your...
I know a lot of people have been losing their jobs to AI, robots, etc. Is that troll, or is that like a joke, or is that real? Why did it say it twice? Oh, bruh. Okay, the joke is the robot is my girlfriend now. What's that movie, Megan? Bro's living Megan IRL.
Crazy ideas. Why not shoot for 2 or 3 income streams or weird side gigs? And if the entrepreneurship thing doesn't work out, they're in no worse financial condition than someone with a job that just got replaced by AI, or a post-grad with 6 figures of student loan debt, which is actually worse because you can't even declare bankruptcy on student loan.
At some point, there has to be a shift when AI is in full swing here. How money works has to change. If you have robots/AI doing everything, then there is no ability to work to earn, so people won't be making money at all at some point. Right, and then when that happens, they can't invest into the economy, and then your economy crashes. So I do wonder what the solution is going to be for that. I think there has to be laws maybe put in place where AI can't replace humans, but they can work alongside humans, right? They like utilizing AI tools or utilizing robots and whatnot. Like, I think there's certain sectors where robots and whatnot won't be able to take over completely, like maybe in surgeries, right? Like that, I think that's a big sector that will still need human supervision over surgeries and stuff. Maybe the doctor will be able to control the robot, like and do things way more precisely and things. But it's gonna need a doctor to do it, And I think if we can do that somehow, some way for a majority of jobs, I'm not saying like every job is that way, but maybe a majority of jobs, then yeah. But it also needs to be in this way where, someone still gets paid enough for them to support themselves and their family or whatever,
Oh yeah, and speaking of weird income streams, what about Bitcoin mining? Yes, there are environmental concerns, but whoever generated this video of a weightlifting cat used 100 times more electricity than a Bitcoin miner. And that's definitely not stopping anytime soon. The good news is over 55% of Bitcoin mining already runs on 100% renewable energy.
Everything, so people can just do whatever. Robots will take care of maintenance, farming, building, so you don't have to pay them. So you don't. Yeah, and then that's where the argument for universal basic income comes in, right? And I think a lot of people will say like $1,000, and I'm like, bro, I mean, $1,000, dude, that's not really covering rent and groceries. That's not livable. People are still gonna need a job with universal basic income. It'll be like Star Trek. I don't know the first thing about Star Trek, bro. I hate those AI videos so much. I just look at them, I'm like, okay, whatever. I just like scroll past them.
And that ratio is climbing thanks in part to the sponsor of today's video, Abundant Minds.
Okay,
Abundant
so it is
Minds
ad.
gets you into Bitcoin mining without needing a data center in your apartment. And depending on the conditions, you could end up acquiring Bitcoin for cheaper than just buying it on an exchange. It's KYC free, tax write-offable,
down, do not
and
recommend
they have
channel.
white glove service if your Bitcoin knowledge ends at number go up. If you're curious, you can check them out with the QR code here and see how you could get a free month of mining. Last
I
point.
have a buddy. He's my best friend, actually. I've known him since I was a kid. He showed me, not this website, but a different one where like you can like rent a mining rig, and the more you pay, the more rigs you can have, so then you can generate more Bitcoin or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, man. KYC? No, oh, know your customer? Yeah. I don't know. I have never read the semantics of any of that. I don't know. I don't really like trust like YouTube sponsors besides like a couple of them like boot.dev I trust, and like NordVPN and Malvad VPN. Those are like the three that I trust, but a lot of these other ones I'm like very skeptical of them, especially ever since the honey situation came out, etc. I don't really trust a lot of the sponsors that YouTubers get.
And maybe the most important one for this whole puzzle, all the AI stuff. Yes, there is a lot of backlash to it right now. Stop using AI slop, hire real artists. We need a wealth tax. We need to control and regulate it. Yes.
I just read something, I think yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court said that AI art can be copyrighted because it's not made by a human or something like that. I could be I might have gotten that completely wrong, but that's how I understood the wording from the thing that I read.
Unfortunately, AI is going to take a lot of jobs, but it's also going to take a lot of dumb jobs and replace them with much better ones and crush a whole bunch of monopolies while...
Was it about Bernie's 5% tax somehow going to have billionaires' wealth? What was the Supreme Court thing? The problem with taxing a billionaire is you can't really tax them because they use their assets and their money to hire lawyers, accountants, etc. So that way they can avoid being taxed. Washington, no. Mine was completely separate from that. But that's the problem with trying to tax like the mega wealthy, is they'll always find a way to like weasel themselves from getting taxed. And that's just how it is. But you can eat them. Well, then we'd be like, that's like the Epstein class type of thing, dude, isn't it? Like I'm not into eating human meat, bro. I think what you have to do is I remember watching this video from Drew Gooden, I believe, where he talked about how in the 1920s with the Great Depression, how they were able to tax like these mega wealthy people in a way that it benefited the average like American, right? And you have to put like super heavy taxes. I think in that video he explained like the rich were getting taxed like 80%, but the way that they could save their wealth is if they reinvested their money into like the company, into giving, large bonuses to their employers, or not to their employers, to their employees, donating things and like helping make their lives better somehow. There was like a way to like really do it, but that also takes a cultural alignment, right? Like the people at the top also have to be aligned with the people at the bottom and trying to make the lives better. And while I see like there's there's certain policies that I think would help from the left, and there's certain policies that I think would help from the right. I don't think it will ever work unless there is a cultural alignment between people in general, right? Everyone has to be on board for, like, you know, making everyone's life better. And the way that I feel like the culture is in America is it's very like hustle, hustle, hustle. Gotta get my money up. Gotta get this win in. Gotta get this. Gotta do this. Blah 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 blah. You know, and it's very self-gratifying and self-centered. And I don't think no amount of policy or like law shift or whatever, economics, whatever, will ever change that unless the culture changes itself. You know? I could be wrong about that. I could be. But I mean, the way I see it is, like, if you have a ton of money, the law is basically just a suggestion at that point. If that makes sense, right? Like, if I'm a billionaire, and I can lobby, right? I'm going to go ahead and hire lobbyists that are going to go into DC, pay Congress people, pay the president, pay the judges at the Supreme Court that will enact and write laws that benefit my company earning more money, and whatnot, right? I think there's just too much of a cultural gap. I agree, Canadian. Yes, social policies might help, stuff that makes it so people don't feel so desperate or alone in their own survival. Yeah, I agree. I think basic things would help, like having a cap on healthcare. The reason why I don't believe that there should be like a universal healthcare is because I have socialist healthcare, right, as a veteran, and it's very slow. It takes me a very long time to go get dental seen. It takes me a very long time to go do a lot of things, right, which could put my health further in jeopardy. And now if we extend that to 330 million Americans, what's going to happen is, you know, if little Andy over here, right, let's just say little Andy gets a cold, well, now he's going to go to the hospital, and then he's going to take a spot from someone that might need it, right? The problem is with like universal healthcare is when you know you don't have to pay, you're going to go for every small little thing. So I think if we did like a wealth gap, right, or a wealth cap, and where it caps out at a certain level based on household income and household expenses for healthcare, I think that would be a lot better, right? Because people would still have to pay, but knowing that, they're going to find ways to have it cheaper for themselves. Like, oh, okay, my kid has a cold. That means I don't need to go to the doctor. I can just go to the store and buy medicine, right? Whereas, like, if you had universal healthcare, you might say, oh, my kid has a cold. I need to take him to the doctor. You know what I mean? And that's just like a very low tier example or whatever. And, you know, and it could be, what's the word I'm looking, I almost said allegory. It could be, I forget the word I'm looking for, but, I think that there should be definitely a cap on how much you could pay for healthcare. I think college, we should definitely be paying for college for our students, right? I think, I don't see why we shouldn't, when we have so much money to give to a bunch of other countries, when we can invest into our own people here by bettering their education, furthering their education, etc., and giving them the opportunity to go and do those things. And you know, because when we put faith in our own people, then we're going to put faith in our own society, and it would more than likely benefit society. No, sir, it's not 20,000. It's 25,000. Okay, 25,000. You're missing 5K right there, bro. Raytheon needs that. They need that contract. No, but in all seriousness, I do think there are many things that we could do here in America that would definitely ease the burden of every individual here in America, to improve the overall quality of life. I will now face the wall, but there definitely does need to be some serious changes in the States, I believe. I feel it might be determined on what course you take. Like, oh, a trade 100% paid, art 50% maybe. Then really weird, pointless courses would be like 15% paid for something. I would agree with that. Yeah, I definitely think if you are going to go into a profession that is going to 100% directly benefit society, like engineering, doctor, scientist, biologist, something, right? Then 100%, yes, I think that should 100% be paid. But if you're looking to do maybe some kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of like breaks down into like subcategories too, right? Because there like for some people would argue Christian ministry or any kind of other theology, religion teaching maybe shouldn't be paid for, right? While others would argue it could be. And then maybe one religious group says, oh, only Christianity should be paid 100% paid for and by our taxes, while Islam should not, or Judaism should not, or something like that, right? I assume if you were to review budget for most universities in the U.S., the bulk of their money goes to sports. I think sports is a big portion of it. I know there's also a lot of dumb like experiments that colleges do that give them free government grants. Like I remember them, like they were trying to get like a parrot to run on a one of these colleges. I don't know which one, but they were trying to get a parrot to run on a treadmill or something, and they got like $100K from the government for that. And I was like, what do we gain from that? You know, I would like to see how many students got a full ride for football, made it into NFL, or using their degree. I think it's a very small percentage. I think it goes, I think from high school to a full ride scholarship for like football or some other high end sport in the US. I think it's like 3% that get that. And then from actual college sports into like the professional leagues, I think it's like 1%. I actually had a kid that I went to school with. He's in the NFL now. His name is Brett Heggie. I will tell y'all straight up. He is in the NFL. There he is. Las Vegas Raiders. Yup. He's a center. He's a big kid, bro. This guy was like 6'4". This guy was just big. Yeah, well, the thing is, too, now the college players also get paid. Was he nice? He was. And he was very by the books. He never did drugs. He never drank. He never went to parties. He straight up just focused on sports and focused on school. He was actually a really good student. And his entire family, bro. His entire family. I think his brother played for Notre Dame. His sister played softball for one of the colleges. His entire family, what's it called? Is like has gone to college, gotten full ride scholarship for college. They're just built. They're all like 6 foot plus. They're massive. Actual giants, bro. But yeah, there's a lot of semantics here that I feel like this might be missing. This video might be missing.
While we're at it. Case in point, Hollywood spent $3 million removing Henry Cavill's mustache with CGI for the Justice League movie.
Bro, what? That is crazy. 3 milli?
Dozens of artists rotoscoping hundreds of shots for a continuity issue. Today, you can do it with 2 prompts for 80 cents. A kid with a laptop can then offer that same service to an indie production that doesn't have $3 million. We don't talk about that enough. Instead, we're always talking about what AI is going to ruin. My take? It's a totally normal reaction, but history tells us that it's not.
I also do think a lot of the outrage to AI is obviously like humans not wanting to see this kind of like crazy change. And I get it. I'm definitely abrasive to certain changes, especially when we're like just barreling towards the advancement of technology at a very rapid rate where we might not be able to comprehend it as a species who has no stake at all to go in and review budgets in every branch of everything. So, okay, the problem with that, at least in the US, is you'll get killed. You'll 100% get killed. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Well, I don't know if you saw what happened with Claude and like Anthropic and how like they labeled them as a supply chain risk. We already know that that's not gonna happen. And then someone who doesn't know anything, a Joe Schmo. Yeah, well, the problem is the U.S. is so corrupt. Anyone that goes against the grain and wants to make it better overall, like they're gonna get killed. They're gonna get assassinated, all of that. I truly believe that. It's not even like a conspiracy theory because it's happened to multiple presidents, and I think with all the Epstein files stuff that comes out, it just proves it even more, right? There's just our government, the U.S. government is like, it's just evil, bro.
Going to work out for the pessimists, just like it didn't during the Industrial Revolution. Flashback to the 1790s. It's a confusing time during the Industrial Revolution in Britain. The Luddites are burning down mills, the government bans machinery exports, and when that doesn't work, the British Parliament votes to just start hanging people. 14 people executed in a single afternoon over smashing a loom. Do you know what a loom is? Neither do I. But it's very on brand for a country with bad teeth, worse food, and an inexplicable confidence about both. Meanwhile,
look, bro, I've been to London. The food in London was pretty fire, okay? We only went to one English place, though, and we only had their breakfast, okay? The breakfast was really good. Everything else was from, like, a different country, right? I think we went and ate at, like, this French place, this Italian place, multiple Italian places, etc. Dude, the food in London was actually good, though. Yeah, he just went off on the UK. Well, okay. I mean, it's pretty typical for Americans to do that. A lot of Americans actually, they love brashing on the Brits, dude, just because of the history between the two countries. It's just how it is for a lot of Americans.
A 21-year-old named Samuel Slater memorizes how to build these machines and mills, sneaks out of the country on a boat, and builds his own in America. By age 26, he owns 25 mills across the country.
All right, I was listening, but I was also looking, bro. This guy's stroking the wheelbarrow here.
His own in America. By age 26, he owns 25 mills across the country. The AI era is just beginning.
Yeah, so what it mostly boils down to, Canadian, is the fact that the founding fathers won against the British. That's what it basically comes down to.
The New York Times is putting out articles.
It has like nothing to do with how the country was founded or anything like that. It was just about how we got our independence from the British.
About how 4-year comp sci graduates now have to take up jobs at Chipotle. But you know what they're not telling you? The average age of a founder has dropped from 40 to 29 in just 4 years. You don't have to be Peter Thiel or Peter Thiel's blood boy to benefit from this either. If you told people back
in... Dude, those
2000...
two guys, or that guy that does that, he's very odd.
2001 that 58 million Americans would identify as social media managers, YouTubers, content creators, Bitcoin developers, DoorDash drivers, or streamers. They'd probably think you're speaking Latin or having a fucking stroke. We can't even imagine what the next wave of jobs is going to be called. AI prompt specialist? Synthetic data moderator?
I'm pretty sure that's already a thing. But what is that? Hold on. What? Synthetic data?
Jobs is going to be called AI prompt specialist.
So I know there's like AI prompt engineers. I know that's a job title.
Synthetic
data moderator? Interesting.
Data moderator? Sleep coach? Eyeless rabbit caretaker? She's doing fine. We're getting her Neuralink soon. The next few years are going to be noisy.
Sentence writer. Yeah, literally.
Regulation debates, AI wealth tax, universal basic income. And Gen Z has a lot more problems to worry about than just money. Friendships are feeling more hollow. Depression is at...
Okay, I will say also that, okay, I do think a lot of this, okay, hold on. I got to look at that. Oh my God. Just started choking on my spit. I do think a lot of this like friendship recession type of thing, why Gen Z is lonelier. I think a lot of it is like we're online a lot more than ever, right? And as you get older, and I think how things are progressing in the world in general, and how divisive certain subjects are and things like that, it becomes harder to make friends because there are people out there that just won't be friends with you because of your beliefs, you know? And then and it's like you have to put yourself out there, and then you might get rejected time and time again and whatnot, you know? And that's why, like, whenever I try to put myself out there to make new friends, I do try to look for like common ground, right? I found a buddy that I got right now that I played Deadlock with. Turns out he was a Marine. I was a corpsman. We already had like an insta connection, you know. So it's like those type of things. But it is I could see how it is increasingly hard, as times go on, especially with how integrated social media is and things like that. Delete Twitter, Insta, TikTok, delete it all. Yeah, I agree. I do think there is some truth to that. If you delete the social media apps and actually get out there and talk to people more, I definitely think you would have more friends and whatnot. I thought you were a seaman. All right, so how it works is when you go to the recruiter emp, you tell them, right? You tell them what kind of job you want. You can also go in as unrated. Unrated means you just go in, be a regular seaman, you get assigned to a ship, and then you work various jobs, and then you can strike a rate or a job in the Navy. I went in specifically to be a corpsman. So how that worked is when I graduated my boot camp, I was then a seaman, right? Then when I graduated my schooling to be a medic, I then became a corpsman. So in the Navy, your title and your rank title changes depending on your job. So like if I joined to be a boatsmate, I would have been a boatsman or whatever, I think, or a boatsman 3 or something, you know. Dude, that's fire. Pilot in the Canadian Air Force? That's sick, dude.
40-year highs. You know what you're supposed to want, but you don't feel it. That's what it feels like to grow up in two vastly different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Samuel,
and I do imagine this is going to get worse as technology advances, right? Again, I think we're barreling extremely fast into advances of technology that is only going to further separate us from what it means to be human and making human connections. And we're going to be more integrated with an AI and understand technology more than what it means to be a human. We're literally going to be cyberpunk eventually.
Slater felt the same thing. 21 years old in a foreign country with a blueprint memorized, but nobody to talk about it with. The world that he understood was across an ocean. The world he wished for didn't exist yet. He tried to build it anyways, while the Luddites were still sharpening their axes. By the time that they had burnt down one mill, he had built 10 more in a different country. The proverbial axes are out again today. The question is, what side of that do you want to be on?
I definitely think as well you can, there is a way to be pragmatic about things, but also look at it objectively and by zooming out and saying, okay, while this isn't great, you know, and changes need to happen, I can be pragmatic and invest my time, energy, money, or whatever into this in some way, so that way it can benefit me while still, you know, fighting to make it more right. You know what I mean?